There's a post-it note still stuck to the fridge. It says, 4 p.m. yoga, 6:30 dinner with Mark. Text Eric about divorce. I wish I was joking. That yellow square was the first thing I saw after I got home early from work that Tuesday. My key stuck in the lock like always, and I thought maybe that was the worst part of my day. Then I stepped into the kitchen, saw the note, and realized my wife had sandwiched the end of our marriage between Pilates and pasta. My name's Desmond. I'm 42, and apparently I'm so emotionally forgettable. My wife had to remind herself to tell me she doesn't love me anymore. At first, I thought it was a prank. Or maybe one of her chaotic to-do lists that she forgot to throw away. I even took a picture of it and sent it to her with a laughing emoji. No reply. An hour later, she walked through the door, hair tied up in that messy bun she always claimed was just lazy, but somehow always looked better than my entire face. She looked at me, then at the note still dangling from the fridge. Oh, she said, like she forgot to defrost the chicken. Then, yeah, I was going to talk to you after dinner. I asked her what the hell she meant, and she said the words like she was canceling a gym membership, like it was overdue and mildly annoying. I don't love you anymore, Desmond. I've tried to make it come back. It didn't. No emotion, no drama, just a glass of cold water straight to the face. She opened the fridge, got her green smoothie, sipped it. I was still frozen on the spot like I'd short-circuited. I said something like, "You could have mentioned this sooner." And she had the audacity to say, "That's why I wrote the note." That's why she wrote the note. 12 years. 3 apartments. 1 broken dog we adopted together who still limps when it's cold. And I got a bullet point. I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. I just walked upstairs, packed a bag with socks, 1 hoodie, and my toothbrush. I think I grabbed the hoodie that still smelled like her shampoo. Like an idiot. Before I left, I stood at the door and asked, "So what happens now?" She shrugged. "I guess you go stay somewhere for a while. Just until we figure stuff out. You can keep the car. I'll Uber." She said that like she was being generous. Like letting me keep my 2012 Honda Civic was some grand parting gift. I left. I didn't slam the door. I didn't even close it hard. I wanted to. God, I wanted to. But I didn't. Because deep down, I still wanted her to follow me out and say she didn't mean it. She didn't. And that wasn't even the worst part. I checked into the cheapest motel I could find near the freeway, mostly because it had a door that locked and didn't smell like bleach and regret. The guy at the front desk didn't ask any questions. He just slid the key card toward me like he'd seen it all before. Middle-aged guy with puffy eyes and a duffel bag, checking in without a smile. Probably assumed I'd been kicked out. He wasn't wrong. The first night, I didn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling fan spinning like it was mocking me. My phone stayed silent, except for 2 spam emails and a notification that my wife had added someone new to her Spotify Cooking Vibes playlist. I clicked the link. Why? I don't know. And saw she'd added 6 new songs, all upbeat, all romantic. One of them had the word forever in the title. I wanted to puke. Around 2 a.m., I finally broke. I texted her. "Why now?" She replied with a thumbs-up emoji. Nothing else. The next day, I went back to the house to pick up some clothes. She wasn't there. The dog barked when I opened the door. He looked confused, like he couldn't tell which one of us had abandoned him. I grabbed what I needed, then did something I shouldn't have. I opened her laptop. I didn't mean to snoop. It was already open. The screen lit up as soon as I touched it. No password. A tab was still open to a message thread, some app one didn't recognize. The username was QuietWolf7. I clicked. That's when I found out about Tim. They had been talking for months. Tim sent her photos, gym mirror selfies, vacation sunsets, shirtless in bed stuff. She sent him recipes, jokes about me, and voice notes where she whispered things that made my skin crawl. At one point, she literally typed, "I wish I could just erase Desmond. He's like a broken extension cord, technically there, but useless." I'm not gonna lie. I sat down on the edge of the couch and shook. I felt like my organs were rearranging themselves, like I was becoming someone else in real time. Someone angrier, someone smaller, someone hollow. That would have been enough. It should have been enough. But then I saw it. A screenshot she sent him. It was my contact info, circled in red. She wrote, "Still technically my emergency contact. LOL. LOL. She was laughing. She thought it was funny. That I was still the one listed under, in case of emergency. The man she was mocking, avoiding, discarding, Still the name she'd trust a hospital to call if she got hit by a car. I left without saying anything. I didn't slam the door. Again, I just sat in my car with the engine off for nearly an hour. At some point, I realized I'd been gripping the steering wheel so hard, the imprint of the stitching was left in my palm. That night, I blocked her on everything. Texts, socials, even Spotify. It didn't matter. I could still feel her inside my skull like an echo. I still remembered the way she used to hum in the mornings, the way she snorted when she laughed too hard, the way she always overcooked the rice and pretended she meant to. But now I knew she could erase me like a file on her desktop. And somehow, that wasn't even close to the end. The next morning, I got a call from my bank while I was brushing my teeth in the motel sink with a towel wrapped around my waist and a pair of socks drying on the lamp. Camille had emptied our joint checking account. All of it. Not some of it. Every last cent. The woman on the phone was polite, almost robotic, and said, "We have a transaction here for $4,219.87 transferred to a personal account ending in 5221. Are you familiar with this transaction, Mr. Carter?" I said no, of course not. I asked whose name the account was under. She couldn't tell me, for privacy reasons. Privacy. Apparently, my wife could ghost my soul, but the bank still had to protect her privacy. I didn't yell at the woman. I just said, "Got it. Thanks," and hung up. I sat down on the edge of the bed and stared at the carpet like it was going to whisper instructions to me. The money was supposed to be for the new washing machine and the property tax payment. She didn't even wait until the billing cycle ended. She just drained it like she was closing an account with a company she hated. No warning, no note, no LOL this time. Just gone. I texted her, "Camille, what are you doing? Why would you take everything?" No answer. So I texted again. I didn't even take the good towels. Still nothing. A few hours later, I got a single message. "It's just cleaner this way." Cleaner. I wanted to scream. I wanted to call her mother and tell her she raised a selfish sociopath. I wanted to print out every screenshot from that conversation with Tim and paste them on every street lamp in Boise. But I didn't, because I knew what would happen. She'd spin it. She'd cry in front of people and say I was unstable, emotional, jealous. And maybe I was, but not in the way she wanted people to believe. That night, I did something I knew was pathetic. I drove back to the house and parked across the street. I just wanted to see if she was alone. I didn't get out. I didn't knock. I just watched from the shadows like a kicked-out ghost haunting his own life. And yeah, Tim was there. I recognized him from the gym selfies. He wore a backwards baseball cap and had that perfect 5 o'clock shadow that looked like it took an hour to shape. He brought flowers. And wine. She opened the door in a dress I bought her last year, the one she said was too clingy and made her feel self-conscious. Funny how it didn't bother her now. What killed me wasn't the wine, or the flowers, or even her laugh. It was the dog. Our dog. My dog. The broken rescue mutt with the bad hip and cloudy eye. He ran to the door, tail wagging, excited. When Tim bent down to pet him, the dog licked his face. Like he belonged there. I don't know what I expected, some dramatic canine loyalty moment where the dog refused to acknowledge the intruder, barked in protest, and looked out the window to long for me. But dogs don't write Reddit posts. They live in the moment. And in that moment, I wasn't part of his. I drove back to the motel feeling emptier than I'd ever felt. Not angry. Not betrayed. Just hollowed out. Like someone had reached inside and unplugged me from the world. But the universe wasn't done with me. Because the next morning, I got an email from a name I didn't recognize. And the subject line said, "You don't know me, but you need to read this." I stared at that subject line for a full 5 minutes before I clicked it. I wasn't ready. Not mentally. Not emotionally. But let's be honest. I hadn't been ready for anything since the moment Camille handed me divorce like it was a grocery list. The email came from someone named Sienna Langley. No photo. No context. Just a block of text that began with a sentence I wish I could unread. "You don't know me, but I've been seeing your wife's boyfriend for almost a year." I swear I felt my heart stumble. Like it tripped over itself mid-beat. I kept reading, mouth dry, stomach doing cartwheels. Sienna claimed she met Tim. Yes, that Tim, on some dating app for professionals. They'd been seeing each other since last fall. Dinners, weekends, a short trip to Santa Cruz. He told her he was emotionally unavailable due to a messy breakup with his ex. That ex, apparently, was Camille. He had painted my wife as some unstable, manipulative woman who who wouldn't let go of him. Claimed she stalked his social media, showed up unannounced, and cried on his doorstep. I actually laughed. I laughed so hard I choked. Camille? The woman who scheduled our divorce like a dentist appointment? Crying at his door? But Sienna wasn't done. She said she found Camille's real Instagram through a tagged photo and realized something didn't add up. The timelines overlapped. The captions were too coupley. So she did what Camille never expected. She messaged her. Confronted her. Woman to woman. That's when the chaos started. Apparently, Camille flipped. Denied everything. Called Sienna a stalker. Said Tim had been obsessed with her, and she was just now finally free from his controlling behavior. Then she blocked her and posted a story with some vague quote about removing toxic people from your orbit. But Sienna wasn't stupid. She dug. She found my name through an old comment Camille left on Facebook. Yes, Facebook of all things, and Googled me. She found the faculty page of my school, found my email, and decided to send the message. Not out of revenge. Not even out of solidarity. I just thought someone should tell you the truth, she wrote. You deserve to know how many lies are orbiting your name. I read that line about 10 times. Then I read the whole email again. Then I threw my phone onto the motel bed and walked to the vending machine like that could somehow fix my brain. I bought a Diet Coke and stared at my reflection in the metal. I was a joke. A clown without the makeup. A man discarded by a woman who couldn't even commit to her rebound. When I got back to the room, I started writing a reply. Then deleted it. Wrote another one. Deleted that too. What was I supposed to say? Thanks for letting me know my wife's boyfriend is cheating on her with you, while she cheats on me with him? It sounded like a broken mirror. But the worst part wasn't the betrayal. It wasn't even the humiliation. It was the realization that I didn't know who Camille really was anymore. Had I ever? That night, I didn't sleep. Again, I laid there, staring at the motel ceiling, picturing her, laughing, charming, spinning whatever version of reality suited her best. And in that quiet, aching silence, I made a decision. I was going to go back to the house one last time. Not to talk, not to fight, but because there was something in the attic she didn't know I'd hidden there. Something I swore I'd never need. Until now. I parked 3 houses down, just in case. Didn't want to trigger the ring cam, though I was fairly sure Camille had stopped checking those notifications months ago. She hated the app, said it gave her anxiety. Funny, I used to check it every night while she was working late. The irony didn't miss me. The porch light was off, but the living room window glowed faintly with that soft yellow hue she loved, some overpriced smart bulb she could dim with her voice. I watched the house for a few minutes before stepping out. My breath fogged in the air. My hands were shaking, but not from the cold. I had the key. She hadn't changed the locks. Maybe she forgot. Or maybe she thought I wouldn't come back. I slipped in like a ghost. The dog barked once, then went silent when he saw it was me. He tilted his head like he was trying to remember if he liked me. I didn't pet him. I didn't speak. I just walked through the hallway, past the framed photos of vacations I now realized she probably never enjoyed, past the coat rack, where my old jacket still hung like I might need it again. Straight to the attic. The ladder creaked as I pulled it down, and I paused, listening for footsteps. Nothing. She wasn't home. Probably out with Tim, or maybe already breaking in someone new. I wouldn't put it past her. I climbed up, flashlight in hand, the air growing colder with every step. The attic had always been my space, my cluttered, dusty hideout full of boxes she never bothered to open. And tucked in the far corner, behind an old guitar amp and my high school yearbooks, was the one box I came for. It was labeled junk, do not open. Not because it was dangerous, but because it was the only way I could guarantee she'd never go through it. Inside were letters. Dozens of them. Not from her, to her. From me. Unsent. Unread. Years of them. I used to write her letters instead of arguing. After fights. After moments she walked out. After nights she turned away and said, I'm tired, Desmond. In that voice that sounded more like, I'm tired of you. I never had the guts to give her any of them. Maybe part of me knew she wouldn't care. Maybe I just needed to say the things, even if no one heard them. But buried at the bottom was something else. A flash drive. I'd forgotten about it. Buried it during the pandemic, when everything started to feel off. I plugged it into my laptop back at the motel that night, expecting old photos. What I got was something else entirely. Camille had been recording me. Not secretly. These were clips from her phone, videos she had taken over the years of me doing things I didn't remember. ranting after a bad day at work, crying after my dad passed, snapping at a burnt dinner, pacing the kitchen after another one of her silent treatments. Edited down, cropped, named things like Des losing it, why I can't anymore, Exhibit A. It was like watching my worst self through the eyes of someone who already hated me. No context, no warmth, just a highlight reel of every moment I'd failed to be perfect. She had been building a narrative, a case, a reason. I don't know if it was for court or therapy or just her own guilt. But there it was, digital proof that I was the villain of her story. And yet, none of it was false. I had snapped. I had cried. I had lost my temper when she shut down on me. I just didn't know she was collecting the evidence like trophies. I sat there for hours watching the pieces of my past play like a twisted movie. At one point, I whispered to myself, maybe I deserved it. And that's when I noticed the final folder. It was dated 2 weeks before she told me she didn't love me anymore. And the file name was, Read Before You Leave. My hands hovered over the trackpad. My heart felt like it was shrinking. Because even after everything, the cheating, the lies, the theft, the humiliation, I still wanted to believe there was something left in her heart. Something human. I clicked. And what I saw in that final file changed everything. The video was just under 3 minutes long. It started with a shaky frame. Camille sitting on the floor in what looked like our guest room, back pressed against the wall, hair pulled up like she hadn't slept. Her eyes were red, but not from crying. More like she'd been thinking too much, staring too long at something that never blinked back. There was a tremble in her voice before she even spoke. That alone stopped me cold. Then she whispered, I know I'm never going to show this to you. I probably won't even keep it. But I need to say it out loud before I do something I can't take back. Her eyes didn't move. She wasn't reading, wasn't rehearsed, just raw. I keep picturing myself leaving, she said. And it feels easy. Too easy. I imagine the bags, the story I'll tell everyone, the part where I say, he stopped trying. And they all nod and say, oh, that must have been so hard for you, Camille. And I hate how good that fantasy feels. She paused, took a breath like it physically hurt to keep going. But the truth is, I stopped trying first, a long time ago, and I don't even know why. Maybe it was when your dad died and I didn't know how to hold you together. Maybe it was when I started thinking every bad day of yours was about me. Or maybe it was just boredom. God, that sounds so ugly out loud. I leaned closer to the screen like she might hear me, like I could ask her why she never said any of this to my face. I recorded those clips of you because I wanted to feel justified, she said. I thought, if I can collect enough evidence, then it's not my fault. Then I can walk away clean. But all it really proves is that I've been living with one foot out the door, just waiting for you to give me permission to leave. She wiped her nose on her sleeve. And the worst part? You still love me. Even when I'm cold. Even when I'm selfish. Even when I make it impossible to stay. You're still here. And I hate you for that. Because it makes me the bad guy. She looked directly into the camera for the first time, and I felt like she was finally speaking to me. Not the version of me she edited, or the shell I became in her head. Me. I think I want to destroy this video, she said softly. Because if you ever saw it, you might understand me. And then I wouldn't have a reason to leave anymore. And just like that, she reached forward, and the video cut to black. No ending. No follow-up. She never deleted it. Never moved it. Just buried it under digital rubble, hoping it would fade on its own. But it didn't. And now, I had seen her, really seen her, in the one moment she didn't know how to lie. I sat there for a long time afterward. Not angry. Not sad. Just paralyzed. I couldn't even tell what I felt. Sympathy? Betrayal? A weird, bitter kind of love? All I knew was that I couldn't see her the same way anymore. I couldn't hate her the way I wanted to. She wasn't a villain. She was just a coward, like me. Two people drifting in the same direction and calling it marriage. But knowing the truth didn't fix anything. It didn't put money back in my bank account. It didn't erase the cheating. It didn't change the fact that I was living in a motel where the vending machine didn't even take cards. So I closed the laptop, sat back in the chair, and whispered to myself like an idiot. What the hell do I do now? And right then, as if the universe needed a punchline, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Camille. 3 words. Please come back. I didn't reply. Not right away. I let her message sit there on my screen like it was burning a hole through the glass. Please come back. 3 words. And yet they made less sense than everything else that had happened. After everything she did, After the gaslighting, the emotional drain, the affair, the money, what could possibly be left to come back to? But curiosity is its own kind of gravity, and I couldn't stop orbiting her, no matter how far I drifted. I paced that motel room like a man debating his own sanity. Maybe I wanted closure. Maybe I wanted revenge. Or maybe, I hate admitting this, some microscopic, shriveled part of me wanted to be wanted, even by the person who broke me. So I replied with 2 words. Are you home? She was. I arrived just after 9 p.m., wearing the same wrinkled hoodie and jeans from 2 days ago, looking like something scraped off the bottom of a long week. When she opened the door, I half expected a smile, or tears, or at least a flicker of relief. But instead, she just stepped aside, like I was the pizza guy and this was a prepaid order. Inside, nothing had changed. The same faint vanilla candle. The same dog curled on the couch, eyeing me like I was a stranger trespassing on someone else's territory. But Camille looked different. Not like she had been crying. Not sad. Just blank. Like she had rebooted into someone else entirely. She sat down across from me at the kitchen table, hands clasped. No wine. No fake small talk. Just silence so thick I could feel it press against my chest. Then she spoke. I don't know what you saw, she said quietly. On the drive. But I didn't mean for you to see that. I nodded. And yet, you labeled it, read before you leave. She blinked. You wanted me to find it. Don't lie. That caught her off guard. She opened her mouth like she was going to deny it, then just sighed. Maybe. I don't know anymore. I keep trying to tell myself stories about who I am and what I want. But every version ends in me disappointing someone. You didn't just disappoint me, Camille, I said. You dismantled me, piece by piece. You made me doubt my own memory, my reactions. You told me I was too emotional, while secretly filming me like I was an experiment. Her voice cracked. I wasn't trying to hurt you. You weren't trying not to either. She looked away, jaw tight. I didn't know how else to leave. You could have just told the truth. She scoffed bitterly. You wouldn't have accepted it. And she was right. I wouldn't have. Because the idea of her not loving me anymore had been too big, too ugly to fit inside my head. So I had ignored every red flag, every distant hug, every fake laugh. I leaned back, arms crossed. So why'd you ask me to come back? Huh? Out of guilt? Loneliness? Or is Tim not answering your calls anymore? That landed. Her face twisted, but she didn't deny it. Tim is. Not what I thought he was, she said. But this isn't about him. No, I said, voice sharper than I intended. It never was. It's always been about you. What you feel. What you need. What you're escaping. She stood, her chair scraping loudly against the tile. Okay, if you came here just to scream at me. I didn't, I cut in. I didn't come to scream. I came for one reason. Her shoulders stiffened. Which is? I pulled a folded paper from my back pocket and slid it across the table. She hesitated, then picked it up. Her eyes scanned the top line. Legal petition for the dissolution of marriage. She didn't speak, just stared at the page like it had grown teeth. I already signed it, I said. I just need your signature and a notary. I've booked an appointment for Friday morning. If you don't come, I'll file a loan and we'll go from there. Her voice was barely audible. You said you'd never give up on me. I didn't, I said. You did. You just wanted me to take the blame for it. The silence that followed was the kind that makes your ears ring. Then she whispered, so this is really it? I stood, grabbed my keys. You already ended it, Camille, I said. I'm just the one turning off the lights. I walked out without looking back. Not at her. Not at the dog. Not at the house we built on routines and half-truths. I walked out lighter. Not happy. Not healed. Just lighter. Like finally admitting the truth took 20 pounds off my soul. But as I stepped off the porch, something stopped me cold. My phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't from Camille. It was a voicemail. From Sienna. And in her trembling voice, she said just 5 words. I think he's watching you. I stood frozen on the sidewalk, street lamp humming above me, Sienna's message playing over and over in my head. I think he's watching you. At first, I laughed. Out loud. It was a bitter, cracked sound. Because what else could the universe throw at me? A jealous affair, financial ruin, emotional gaslighting, and now a stalker? A boyfriend turned voyeur? A guy who couldn't handle losing a woman he stole? But then I saw the car. 2 houses down. Engine off. Lights out. A gray sedan I didn't recognize, parked just a little too neatly. The kind of neat that feels rehearsed. I didn't panic. I just walked straight toward it. The window rolled down slowly. And there he was. Tim. In the flesh. Baseball cap reversed. Beard trimmed to perfection. And behind his eyes, the kind of vacancy that made you wonder if he even had a real personality or just mirrored whoever looked at him. Can I help you? I asked, tone flat. He smiled. Just checking in on Camille. She doesn't need you to do that, I replied. We're handling it. He shrugged, like this was some casual run-in at the grocery store. She's not answering her texts. I stepped closer. She's not yours to text anymore. He grinned wider, but it didn't reach his eyes. You think this is over? And I said the most unexpected thing that came to mind. Yeah, I do. And not because of lawyers. Or emails. Or whatever you think you've got over her. It's over because you're just like she was, addicted to control. And I'm done being anyone's drug. He blinked. I didn't give him time to answer. I walked away. Not because I was afraid. But because for the first time in months, maybe even years, I had nothing left to prove. That night, I didn't go back to the motel. I drove past it. Kept going. I took the highway north, stopped at a cheap 24-hour diner, ordered pancakes, and sat alone in a booth by the window with a steaming cup of coffee and no one expecting anything from me. I looked at my phone. No new messages. No Camille. No Sienna. No drama. Just peace. 2 weeks later, the papers were signed. Camille didn't fight. She didn't beg. She just showed up to the notary's office, signed, and walked away. Our story ended not with shouting, but with silence. And, honestly, that was better. I kept the dog. He didn't warm up to me right away, but I didn't blame him. We were both learning how to trust again. And me? I got a new apartment across town. Nothing fancy. Just a quiet place with no memories soaked into the walls. I started going to therapy, actually sticking with it this time. I picked up my guitar again. Played badly. Sang worse. But it felt like breathing. And one afternoon, months later, I opened my inbox and found a single message from Sienna. It wasn't long. I'm moving to Portland. Thanks for being decent. Hope your life is calm. I smiled. Hit reply. It finally is. And that's it. No dramatic twist. No last-minute betrayal. Just freedom. Some people measure healing in years. Some in scars. For me, it was measured in silence. In not checking the Ring camera. In drinking coffee that didn't taste like heartbreak. In walking past my old life without the urge to look back. Camille was part of my story. But I'm finally writing the next chapter without her. And this time, it's not about what someone else did to me. It's about what I choose to become.